Don't stop, don't miss.
Whether you keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs, these are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk podcast.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? This is Jeremy Turgeon from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Rob, and I'm keeping it real.
And we're all very dizzy after watching that poster just flip through here.
Unless people are listening to the audio version in the future.
This is true.
Then they will not even know what you're talking about. I just put a frame on. I bought this Poecilotheria poster that's got pictures of all the different Poecilotheria species, male and female, which is pretty cool because the tarantula is sexually dimorphic. And I've had it just like wrapped up in a tube forever. And then I was at the store the other day and I was like, oh, look at this. It's a little a poster frame. And I was like, I have like a bunch of posters that I want to put up, but I don't want to just like stick them on the wall because I really like them and don't want them to get messed up. So
yeah,
I was like, I'm just gonna grab a couple. So I got one and I set up the Poecilotheria one, and then Kristen got me the Venomous Snakes in North Carolina poster, and so I got that one framed up there too. So I'm super pumped. How are you doing, Jeremy?
Yeah. I'm here, dude.
He's still alive. Can you believe that?
I'm still alive. Do you believe that? I don't believe it. Holy Christ. No, man, I'm doing good. Super excited because officially February 6th is when Tyrese drops his single from the project that I worked on with him. Features Lenny Kravitz. So I'm super, super stoked for that. It's still kind of surreal, man. Everything about it is hella surreal. So I'm just kind of existing in that, slowly downsizing a little bit. Anybody that follows me on my primary socials saw that I'm downsizing a bit just to make my travel life a little bit easier and not have to burden anybody with maintaining all of those animals as I go away periodically.
For real.
So yes, I'm here. Parts of my soul are drifting away, though. But I'm happy that we're back in the saddle again. We're recording this episode 102.
Hell yeah.
102 episodes, man.
And this is a really special episode. I'm really hyped to have this guest on tonight because this is a guy that I've known for over a decade now. And we haven't had, we talked to Trace a little bit about inverts, but this guy is big into the inverts. And so tonight for our guest, we have Sir Tom Patterson from Hardcore Arachnids. Patterson.
Bam.
Hey,
what's up, man?
Hell yeah. Dude, we're super pumped to have you on tonight.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah.
We got to have you edit your name to Sir Tom, though. Now it needs to be edited.
I'm scared to touch anything because I'll end up clicking off and
deleting everything.
Right.
Yeah, right. And be like, well, we're done now.
So you have a wall of arachnids behind you.
Yeah.
And I've seen pictures of that wall and I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's so freaking cool. There's so many different species that you work with. How about a quick little rundown for if there are people who listen to us who might be reptile people or arachnid people who don't know about you. What got you into arachnids and what's your main passion with them?
Well, like anybody, I've been into exotic animals my whole life. My parents would take me to the mall to go shopping and drop me off at the pet store. And I'd sit there, looking, just staring inside these tanks for hours, like in amazement, And, they were cool. My parents would let me have snakes and lizards and stuff growing up, but they drew the line at spiders. That was it. Can't bring home a big spider. So
the forbidden fruit.
Right. Eventually I was like 14. I got my own job and I had a little money for the first time in my life. And the first thing I did was went out and bought a rose hair tarantula,
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I think about that day all the time and how it changed my life. And this guy at the pet store put these welding gloves on to, put this rose hair, and I think about that day all the time,
Not the welding gloves.
Yeah. And, when I was a kid, I would go visit my aunt and uncle who lived in the Poconos Mountains, and I go collecting, catching snakes and newts and salamanders and stuff like that. I loved being out there by the rivers and stuff. So, it just grew from there, so
hell yeah.
and it eventually turned into this.
Rough estimate, ballpark estimate. How many species do you think you work with?
It's probably over 100 females, but
damn, that's awesome.
A lot of them are hard to find males for, so they just kind of like sit in their box here. There's not much to do with them, so I can't really say I'm working with them like as far as breeding them, but if males pop up,
yeah, I think even just having a female is considered working with them. I'd consider it, because if a male does pop up, there is, I feel like in the arachnid world, there's a lot better networking when it comes to working on breeding projects than in the reptile world.
Yeah. I love photographing them and stuff too. So, if they molt, it's like almost like getting a new spider.
Exactly.
Photograph them and stuff. So,
Hell yeah. And you just launched a new website, Hardcore Arachnid. So tell us a little bit more about that.
It's a long time coming. I should have had a website years ago. Just I was doing it the old-fashioned way of people messaging me for price lists, and it kind of grew. I never really wanted to be a dealer, but I'd sell stuff that I would breed, and then people would be like, "Can you get this? Can you get that?" And I was always like, "Yeah, I can get it. Are you gonna buy it if I have it?"
Yeah.
And then it just kind of grew from there. Like, just started putting a price list together, and really, like during the pandemic, is when it kind of took off.
Oh yeah.
And
man.
people are buying spiders like crazy. I felt bad because people weren't working, and I was making more money than I ever made selling spiders. Like
that. I feel like that's how the reptile community works too, though, because people got those couple stimulus checks and
it worked out great.
What, $1,200 or $1,600? You can get like a couple snakes for that, but in tarantula land, you can get everything. Right. You can get so much.
So it just the website was just needed. So I finally figured out how to build one myself and slapped it together, and it's made life a lot easier. I got to tell you, it's so much organized and professional now.
Yeah, it definitely can. When you can have a aggregate, an area where you can just be like, hey, if you're interested in looking at anything that I've got, check out the website.
Right.
You can put up information for care sheets, shipping, all that sort of stuff, so you don't have to answer 50 million questions in DMs. Because
exactly. I'm starting to add descriptions of the spiders and stuff like that too, to cut down on all the emails and messages that I get, because that's very time consuming.
It really is. It's very frustrating because I feel like, especially in tarantulas, there's a lot of people who are like, I just want to ask you 50 million questions about these spiders, and it's like,
I know
do some research.
My jumping spider page has like 2 pages of terms and things to know about jumpers, because I saw so many jumping spiders that
with TikTok and like Instagram and stuff, people are
like
obsessed with jumping spiders, and I'm like, you all know that, like, if you go look at a fence post and sit there for long enough, you'll probably see a jumping spider, right? Like,
don't tell them that.
No. Not the kind you have, but there'll be a jumping spider. Yeah, yours are prettier. But like, it's just so interesting because like they've been there the whole time, but people never take the time to, like, I
never knew.
Stop and look.
I have all these like incredible, amazing, rare tarantulas from all over the world, and people want these little jumping spiders that, like you said, you could catch outside.
Little regal jumping spiders. Like, look at it. It's got like a little orange on it. And you're like, oh, okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah. But it has to be captive bred now. Now it's got to be captive bred. We don't want those. We don't want those backyard imports. Literally backyard imports.
I don't even want to think about how small a jumping spider baby is. It's just.
They're very difficult to raise. Yeah, they're so tiny. They're scared of the little Malagaster fruit flies. They run away from, so.
Oh, man.
Have you started doing springtails yet?
I have them here,
I feel like those might work for like those super micro.
Yeah, they're difficult when they're babies, for sure.
Yeah. Well, there's like, it's just so weird because like, in the reptile community, people are like, oh, we're on board with snakes. We're on board with lizards. We like all these weird things. And then you're like, hey, how about this spider? And they're like, get the fuck, I'll fucking burn down your house. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Like, people say that about snakes, right? They're like, yeah, but it's different. And I'm like, it's only different because you don't know anything about spiders.
It's funny. We get that a lot at the reptile shows, like you would think that you'd be accepted at the reptile shows where these people hear that all the time about snakes, and like spider people are the outcast of the exotic hobby, like reptile hobby. Like they think we're weird. Like,
right.
So
they're not as weird as scorpion people or centipede people.
Yeah, you could really start breaking it. You could really start breaking it down, like
oh god,
vinegaroon people, like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We don't fuck with them. We don't.
Right.
We don't hang with them.
Right.
Like spiders are cool. Tarantulas are cool. True spiders are cool, but vinegaroons, tailless whip scorpions.
Oh gosh.
I have to ask you about that giant house centipede that you have. That thing, there's not a lot of things that really make my skin crawl, and that is one of them.
Those things were gnarly, man. Yeah, they're not around anymore. They lasted a few months. They were adults when we got them. And, I was hoping they would lay eggs. I tried breeding them. I couldn't even tell you if they were male or female or not. I did my best to pick ones that looked different, and never got eggs or anything. And eventually, they kind of just fizzled out. But they were cool, man. With the freaking antenna and the legs on those things, they were like this long.
For anyone who's listening, picture the little like house centipedes that you see that run around that are real quick, but they're like maybe an inch and a half, ish. Now picture it like a foot, like 14 inches long. The thing's massive, and it's just like it looks like it could pick your cat up and just walk away with it. Like,
I'm not big into handling, but I had to hold that thing. One of those things. It was zipping up and down my arm around my back.
Oh, God.
Like I said, there's not a lot of things that make my skin crawl. That thing just like disturbed
they were really
me
cool
to the core.
God, I gotta go pet a dog now or something. God.
They were awesome.
Oh man.
So have you noticed this like big uptick in the true spider keeping? I feel like tarantulas have had the spotlight for so long, and kind of scorpions too. But over the last like 5 years, I've noticed a lot of people are kind of getting more into keeping the true spiders, which they have a shorter lifespan, which kind of sucks.
Right.
But there's lots of interesting species with the true spiders.
Yeah, I'm so into true spiders and like other weird megalomorphs and things that it comes and goes though. Like there'll be a few months where everyone's asking for these weird true spiders, and then it kind of fizzles out and kind of comes back. Usually when you don't have them is when people are asking for them. But
of course, yeah.
I love my true spiders. My buddy Frank Soma, who imports a lot of them, he got me into them over the years. There's so many cool ones. It's like with tarantulas, you think them all. You can know them all, but true spiders, you'll never learn them all.
Yeah,
there's so many.
You will never.
Right. There's so many of them.
It's just interesting because like I thought that like tarantulas were fast, like some of the like Tapenacinus stuff is pretty fast, and like Poecilotheria stuff is fast. I thought that until I kept some like Heteropoda species, and they just put tarantulas to shame. Like you can see a tarantula moving. Some of these true spiders, when they move, like the Viridaceus fasciatus, when they move, it's just like a flash and they're gone. Like, it's terrifying.
Yeah,
not terrifying, but it's like interesting.
I always say
terrifying.
I always say I could pack a box of tarantulas blindfolded, just sticking them in their vials to ship. Huntsman spiders, when I'm packing them, there's always one zipping up the wall somewhere. And then when people get the box, it's the most common spider that I was unpacking it and I lost it. It's the most common, like with huntsman spiders. I tell people all the time, do it in a wide open space with catch cups everywhere, in a bathtub, wherever you got to do it. Like in a
bathtub,
right?
That's my secret weapon is the bathtub.
Right.
Yeah, just do it in there because usually there's not a whole lot of cracks and crevices they can get into. You got to plug the drain and you got to plug the spout, and then other than that, have a couple catch cups on the side, and you can do all your rehouses and stuff in there. But I love like the I don't even know the true names. The Heteropoda, it's like a purple huntsman or
Purple
purple
huntsman,
crab,
right.
spider or whatever.
Yeah.
Those things are gorgeous. If you guys are listening, you should Google it. Take a look, check out the images. Heteropoda lanula. It's just this like really iridescent purpley kind of looking huntsman spider, and they get like a good size. They don't get huge, but they get a pretty good size.
Yeah, like 3 inches or so.
Yeah, that's just freaking awesome. But like one of the things that I noticed from keeping tarantulas is like, you know, when you're growing tarantulas, you're like feeding them and feeding them and feeding them and feeding them. And then after a while, you're like, oh, I got a molt. That's cool. And then it goes a while before you get another molt. Jeremy's on top of it.
I'm pulling it up here. I'm gonna have to delete my browser history after, for crying out loud.
The one that's in the bottom
for
middle.
That?
Yeah.
For
that. All right, man. I don't want to accidentally click on it and then be freaked out. Okay. So we're looking at this right here.
Yeah, the bottom middle one is a good picture. I recognize that one. And the middle row to the left, that one's a good picture too.
Yeah, which one? Where are we looking? This right here?
Middle, that one, or the one diagonally up to the left. Yeah, those are both pretty good pictures of them. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, really beautiful.
That's it is a cool looking spider.
Yeah. I just when I'm growing tarantulas, it feels like it takes a while, especially if you got a female, because they go through a slower molt cycle.
Yeah.
It can just feel like it takes forever. I remember when I first kept true spiders, like every time I look at it, it would molt again. It's like they're molting like once every week and a half or something. It's crazy. They grow quick.
Yeah, most of them within a year and a half, they're full grown. There's a couple of oddball true spiders that take a little longer, but they grow super fast. Which is cool because they breed fast, but you just to keep them going in captivity, you have to constantly breed them.
Keep breeding them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and
like oh no, what are you gonna say?
They'll have like a million ridiculously tiny babies too, so you got to be prepared for that.
Sheesh.
Yeah. How about the Erisis spiders, the like ladybird spiders?
Yeah, those things they're another one like jumping spiders, man. People are crazy for those things. And
yeah, there's a couple viral ones that went like on TikTok where like it's just a person who built like a little not paludarium, but like a little microclimate for it, and they like take it out and handle it, and they're like, look, it wants to hug my finger, and so people are like, oh my god, it hugged their finger.
They're cool. They're one of the true spiders that takes a long time to fully mature, though. Like it takes like 3 years for those things, and they come in. They're super ridiculously tiny, and they're very expensive in the U.S. Like $100, $150 for a tiny little dot of a spiderling.
Eighth of an inch spiderling, like.
Yeah, but I mean, they sell out like in the day you get them, though. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's such a cool species because like a lot of people, if you're going from reptiles to arachnids, like most reptiles, there's a lot of reptiles that are not sexually dimorphic, or there might be like small variants in what they look like. But with arachnids, the males and females look so very different. There's not a lot of species that I can think of where the males and females even look remotely similar.
Yeah.
And so it's just like the Erisis is one that comes to mind because the males are like bright red usually, and they're called ladybird spiders. They're bright red and they look kind of like a really exaggerated ladybug, and the females are usually pretty drab colored.
Yeah,
there you go, Jeremy.
Yeah, there's the red ones are the males. Yeah, sometimes when they to describe them, they'll describe the female, not the male will be unknown to science. And like 20 years later, they'll find out, oh, it's that red thing that's been sitting next to it.
Right next to it the whole time. Yeah. Any of those pictures are good. They're just really a really cool genus.
Yeah.
And they have gotten really popular because of those couple people posting the kind of like jumping spider style videos of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you say that you have any favorite true spiders you work with? I like those that like bright yellow one that kind of looks like it's got like the smiley face on it. Those are pretty cool.
It's hard, man. People ask me that about tarantulas all the time. Like, what's your favorite one? Like, I can't just pick one, man. They're so cool. With true spiders, though, I definitely have a special place in my heart for like the huntsman, fast type wandering spiders. They're so cool.
Heck yeah. That always is like a really unfair question that I think that we all get asked. What's your favorite one?
Yeah,
I have favorites.
Rob, with the exception of Rob and scrub pythons and stuff like that.
It's hard, man. Like, it changes every day. Like every day, I'm like, oh, this thing is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And
yeah,
when you look at the next
until
one,
the next container, yeah.
So the next one molts into a fresh, like all its colors are popping and everything.
Yeah. Sheesh. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's here in the chat. There's a bunch of people on Facebook. I think, Tom, that have come through for you. So I just want to highlight a couple comments.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah. Hopefully it's good. Let's see. Limey is here. Limey said he didn't feel bad about taking people's stimulus money. So
when has he ever felt bad?
Right. Let's see. Luke wants to know what your oldest tarantula is.
I got right now. I mean, I have so many spiders that are over 20 years old at this point.
Damn.
Wow.
I just lost a
awesome.
Theraphosa apophysis that was about 19, which is very long for a bird-eating spider.
Yeah, that is crazy long.
Yeah. But there's a couple here that I've legit had for 20 years, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah.
And there's so much variation because like a lot of the arboreal spiders just have a naturally shorter lifespan than a lot of the terrestrial stuff. But I mean, you do get these weird outliers. Like my first Regalis, I actually have her in a jar up here. Hold on. But I got her. That was one of my first like advanced tarantulas, and she lived to be 13 years old, which for Poecilotheria, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Because most of the things I've seen is like usually like 10 years is pretty average for them.
Yeah.
And I just like, it's interesting to me to see people who have got ones that are older like that, because a lot of the like staple pet tarantulas, people just get in as wild caught adults, and it's like you have no idea how old they are.
Right.
The like Aphonopelma stuff, the rose hairs, some of the, I mean, not Brachypelma anymore, but some of back in the day, a lot of the Brachypelma stuff was just all imported stuff. So.
Right. Yeah, my first rose hair lived for about 12 years after I bought it, and it was full grown adult when I got it.
Damn.
It's wild.
All right, let's see. We got another one here. I'm assuming Aaliyah. I'm so sorry, I totally butchered that. Can we talk about how cool funnel web spiders are? I think funnel webs are pretty cool. I'm not even a spider person, which is why Rob is taking the lead on everything that's happening right now. But I do think funnel webs are cool.
Well, there's macrotheli species that are in the hobby.
Ooh, the gigas.
Yeah, those are my favorite ones with the red fangs. They get really big. It's just an evil spider too. They're nasty. And, they web up a lot. They're really cool. There's a lot of, like I said, there's cool megalomorphs. Like people should look into Linotheli. They're really cool spiders. They web up a lot. They have these long ass spinnerets that web over everything. So.
Yeah, the macrotheliae ones they've got these like super like spindly looking legs, and then their spinnerets are almost as long as their legs. It looks like they've got these like really and they just web over everything.
Yeah,
I think that I'm really drawn to a lot of those species that just like web like crazy, because it's like you can kind of make the enclosure look cool. Like, I mean, they're eventually web over everything, but like for a while you can make it look really cool.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people like, what do they need? I'm like, a container with some dirt, and they'll do the rest. Like, they'll move around. And,
Oh man, heck yeah, dude.
It's funny what you're saying about the spinnerets. I have a picture of a macrotheli molting, and the spinnerets are so far out, it looks like it has 10 legs because they're so friggin' long. You know?
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's freaking cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. The macrotheliae gigas have got these like really red chelicerae. So the part that holds the fangs, they're like bright red, and the rest of the tarantula is like black, really dark black.
Oh yeah, like shiny black. Like
they're evil looking.
That sounds really cool and really evil all at the same time.
They get big too.
Really, I haven't seen any of those in person. I've just seen pictures of them.
Yeah, they only come in sporadically over the years. I got a couple here that I'm raising up again, but they don't really. I can't say they don't breed well in captivity, because I don't think a lot of people have tried. But you know, I had an egg sac once; it didn't work out. So hopefully, I'll raise these up and breed them again.
Yeah. That would be really freaking cool.
Yeah.
Let me hit one more of these Facebook questions. Where'd we go? Here we go. From Ash. Tom, do you have your own collection separated from the tarantulas that you sell, or how do you have everything set up?
Yeah, well, I mostly only sell the spiderlings, so anything that's an adult, those are my breeders that I'm going to keep. But I know the first sale stuff's definitely starting to take over more and more now that there's a website up.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Sweet. And there's some other questions coming in, but we'll hit those later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you come up with the title Hardcore Arachnids?
I hate the name, to be honest with you. I had to think of something quick. I listen to hardcore music. I had Uncle Sam breathing down my neck to start a legit business. So I had to come up with a company name.
Put an LLC on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just thought of that real quick because I listen to hardcore music and that's what it is now. So
hell yeah.
There's no real good story behind that.
He's like, actually, I got crowd killed at a Gorilla Biscuits show, and it just came to me directly.
It's funny. Of course, once I made the LLC, I thought 100 other great names that would have been great.
Of course, yeah, of course. That's how it goes.
Right. At this point, it is what it is. Yeah.
Now you are legally bound. You got to start repping it, man. You just got to be like Hardcore Arachnids, and you just got to put bandanas on them or something.
Right.
Yeah. Oh man.
Put some camo shorts on them.
Mm.
Oh gosh. Oh man.
So
are you working with a lot of scorpions, or I don't think do you work with scorpions? Oh.
Yeah, I mean I have them. They're mostly for sale though. It's not really my thing, but I got centipedes. I have a little bit of everything here, but mostly I only really breed the tarantulas. And spiders.
The centipedes thing, I don't know, the people who are drawn to centipedes that are like, centipedes are my favorite. I'm like, something wrong with you.
You're extra weird.
Right.
I like the Scolopendra hardwicki. Those things are awesome, but they just don't come into the US. And
they're very expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Like a $700 centipede is steep.
Yeah, they look unreal though. It looks like a toy. It looks like a plastic toy. The colors on it are unreal. Yeah.
I would just be very tempted to touch it, and I know that that's not a good idea.
No, definitely not with a centipede.
So that centipede that I'm talking about, the Scolopendra hardwicki, they look like a Bismarck ring python, like a baby Bismarck ring python. They're black and orange, and it's like crisp black, crisp orange, like bright orange, and they are just cool, and they get pretty hefty too. They get pretty big. And
it's cool when they run. The colors kind of almost blending together because they move so fast,
Yeah. I just looked them up. Hang on. That's a really impressive looking.
Yeah.
And those pictures don't do it any justice. I'm saying it right now. I saw one. Anastasia had one. And I saw it at the New Hampshire show, and I was like flabbergasted. I was like, "This thing is incredible."
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, that's a crazy looking centipede. That's for sure, though.
Yeah, babies in the U.S. go for about $400 or $500 for a little 1 inch.
Okay, that's. I'm gonna say it right now. That's not that bad. It's bad, but it's not that bad.
Rob,
think about how much people spend on snakes, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, compared to the reptile hobby, man.
Yeah, I mean that's okay.
We
that's
have it pretty
fair.
easy.
That's fair, but still.
That's, I always try to explain that to people. I'm like, if you want a top of the line ball python, it's going to cost you $10,000.
Right.
If you want to have the Rolls Royce, I don't even know what expensive cars are, but if you want the most expensive tarantula, it's $300 bucks or $400 bucks. When the Salma Post Victoria came out, those are $300 bucks. Everyone's like, oh, $300.
Oh, you're a thief. It's like,
yeah, for real. People are like, that's a ripoff, $300. And it's like, bro, if you only knew how much people were spending on ball pythons, you would say,
let me show you. Let me show you this ball python. Let me talk to you about this real quick.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, man.
I guess there's a bigger market with the reptile people, but the spider hobby's growing, man. It's been growing.
It really is.
Growing. Yeah.
It really is.
Right.
I think it's interesting because I have seen since like jumping spiders have gotten more popular. I
Mhm.
think that has gotten a certain demographic of people who might not have
Yeah.
been open to tarantulas,
Yeah.
has gotten them in the door. And then once they
Mhm.
see those, they see stuff like Caribana versicolor and like, you know,
Yeah.
green bottle blues, things like that. And people are
Mhm.
like, okay, those aren't that bad, because if you just have like snakes or lizards or bearded dragons or whatever, and you see a tarantula, you're like, ah, but if you have a little cute jumping spider that everyone
Right.
falls in love with, and you
Yeah.
know, it's not that big of a jump from the jumping spider to, you
Yeah.
know, a tarantula.
All these like tarantula Facebook groups, you know, there's a million of them, and it's always the same like 1,000 people, whatever. Then you
Yep.
go to like a jumping spider group will have 10,000 people in it. It's like a whole nother
Easy.
world of people in there that, like, you know,
Yep.
I don't know where they come from.
Instagram and TikTok. That is
Right.
exactly where they come from.
Literally. Yeah, literally. I forget the other day, just like scrolling TikTok, I saw like 4 jumping spider videos. I'm like, where are these coming from? Like, seriously.
I
Tarantula
instantly scroll. I just scroll right past those people. I'm like, you're gonna sound like in the arms of the angels. Every time. That's every jumping spider video is just
cute.
Look
Right.
at how he looks at me, and I'm like, cool. You only think it's cool because you think it's a puppy. Awesome.
Gosh. Oh man.
I don't know. I feel like there's a certain level of like, you know, I know the tarantulas don't particularly care for me, and I'm okay with that. I think that it takes a level of maturity that you have to take care of something that hates you, and you're like, I still like you anyway.
Yeah. That's so true. Sheesh. Oh man. I
So-
wanted to hit
Oh, no,
this
go ahead.
this super chat real quick because I just saw it. I'm late. I'm catching it. From Sam Boa 420. Thank you for the super chat. Enjoying the podcast, guys. Cheers. Off topic question, but Jeremy, are you selling any hold back carpets or balls with your downsizing in my collection? Yes, just send if you want. You can send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, and I'm more than happy to send you that list for sure. And yeah, bam. I just want to make sure I got that before it disappeared, and then I totally forgot about it in the ether of comments that are coming through.
For sure. And I wanted to ask about, oh man, I can't even remember what the name of them is. There's a centipede I saw pictures of. There's like a blue one that's from Southeast Asia, and then there's like a rainbow light, like a one that's multicolored.
Yeah, the Malaysian jewel centipede. It's not a described species, but
yeah. And I've heard that you have to like keep them in a fridge or something. That you have to keep them cold.
I don't know about a fridge. I mean, they do like it cooler. It's a highland species.
Okay.
I have some down here. It's in a cool basement down here. They're fine, but you know, the refrigerator is excessive. But they're beautiful. The legs are like complete rainbow color.
Interesting.
Damn.
Yeah.
How big do those ones get? I don't really know a whole lot about
like 8-9 inches. You'll hear 10 inches, 11 inches, but I've never seen one that big.
Okay.
That's still, I mean, 8-9 inches. That's still a good size.
Yeah.
Shut up, Rob.
Some would say that's giant, like almost too big.
Hey, and you hear 10 from time to time, but you never see them.
I never saw one, so do we actually believe that exists, or?
Oh God, why?
So what other trends have you seen with the arachnid hobby? Because like jumping spiders is just like we were talking about, has just gone insane. But is there anything else that you're seeing that people are really like searching for right now?
Well, Typhlochilania, Celedonia, that's a popular spider. Anything. It's always like they're always like whatever the new colorful spider is that people want. There's always, people chasing after the next expensive thing, and there's so many spiders in the hobby now. It's impossible to keep up. When I first started collecting, I literally had every spider that was available in the hobby.
Yeah,
and
you're like,
now,
check this out.
Yeah,
I got Pierre Menia over here.
Right. Now there's just hundreds of spiders to pick from, and it's crazy.
Yeah, there's no way you could have one of everything.
Right.
There's just so much.
Right.
The Typhlochilania Celedonia is interesting to me because like I had never heard of them before, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, look at this really expensive spider that just popped up randomly, and I'm like, where the hell did this thing come from?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? And then also, what people don't understand, or I think a lot of people on the internet don't understand, they're like, I want a Typhlochlamydia celedonia. And I'm like, you understand that it's a trapdoor spider, right?
Yeah.
Like, it lives in a dirt tube, and you
Yeah.
do not ever see it. You see a flash of color when it eats, and then that's it. You never see it unless you dig it up. Like,
it's cool though because it's unique because the trapdoors are on the side of a tree, which was like the first spider in the hobby that we've ever had, an arboreal trapdoor spider like that before. So it is a unique behavior that you haven't seen in the hobby before. Plus, it's beautiful colors, so people freaked out over it.
True. I heard that oh man, I don't know what their genus is now, Syrupagopus maybe, the Lampropelmini Other those guys are like kind of arboreal burrowers, but I never saw them do that when I kept them.
Yeah. Well, sometimes when they're younger, they'll burrow and then they kind of start moving up into the trees.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, those the Celedonia. That's another one where like if people want one, they're $300. You get it's accessible for, depending on what you think. But the one thing that kind of I think keeps the price of tarantulas down is that when they are growing, they have to go through this molt cycle, which is like this major life and death event that can be messed up by one little thing going wrong. And then, after they molt, they're soft for, a certain amount of time. And there's so many different things that can go wrong when you're raising spiders, which
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, which is just like when you're keeping spiders and tarantulas, you have to understand that they have 100 to 2,000 babies because not all of them generally make it to adulthood.
Yeah, my first Celedonia sling was $600 for this little 1/8-inch sling. I bought it for my 40th birthday to spoil myself a little bit because I would never normally spend that much on a spider. Yeah, and it got stuck in a molt like a year later and died.
Dude.
Yeah. So it was a male, so it wasn't going to matter. It was probably going to mature, and there was no females in the country at the time, so it wouldn't have mattered. But just seeing that thing stuck in a molt, like only like a year later.
Yeah,
but it happens, man.
Yeah, and I think that like coming from the reptile side of things, where like if something dies, it's kind of a big deal. Yeah. People who have their hearts easily broken, like if they have a mental breakdown, if something dies, I'm like, don't get into raising slings. Just don't do it. You're gonna get really attached to this thing, and then something could potentially go wrong in one of the molts. It comes out, it loses a leg. This, that, and the other thing. It happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I think that's the few people that I know that keep inverts. Like that's always the thing. It's like, oh man, I had this, and then it went through a molt cycle, and then like that was it. And I'm like, I wouldn't know how to process losing an animal because it did something it's supposed to do.
Yeah, that's fair.
It happens, but when you really put things in a grand scheme of things, like hundreds of spiders or whatever, thousands of molts, the ones that do get stuck and die in a molt is a small percentage compared to the ones that do successfully molt and make it through.
Very true.
True.
Very true.
It doesn't make it any less nerve-wracking though when you're watching a $1,000 spider on its back.
Right, exactly.
Don't fuck this up,
man. Yeah. You have one job.
They're staring at it, breathing heavily.
Oh man, sheesh. All right, we need to take a quick break for our ad run, and we'll be right back in 2 minutes, guys. Black Box Cages, located in Buford, Georgia, is your one-stop shop for all of your caging and rack needs. Owners Jen and Clint are at the helm of this fantastic company. With one of the shortest lead times in cage and rack manufacturing, Black Box can satisfy anyone's needs. From baby racks to V70s, arboreal and terrestrial caging to deep-fronted bioactive enclosures. You can find everything you need right here. New enclosure sizes and products are added frequently to their availability, so be sure to check back often. Black Box Cages have tons of customizing options for lighting and heating. Along with that, cages and racks can be stacked with metal stacking dowels, and all cage joints are dadoed for improved durability and stability. Most cage units are flat packed, but are pre-assembled prior to shipping to ensure a solid build every time. The Micro, XC18, XT3, BioG, and 3-stack V70 ship assembled, and all other racks are shipped freight and assembled. The XR16 and XR20 model racks allow keepers to mix and match tubs. Fitting both Vision and Freedom Breeder tubs, you can mix the V15, V18, and V35S tubs, or the FB5, FB8, and FB35CV SC tubs. This kind of flexibility allows keepers to raise their animals from hatchling to juvenile or subadult size before needing to upgrade into adult caging. Don't just take our word for it. Go to their website to see countless customer reviews and review videos from keepers all over. To learn more about Black Box Cages, follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Black Box Cages, and of course their website, www.blackboxcages.com. Links to their socials and website will be available in the podcast description. Boom. Welcome back. So you guys
What's
know
up?
the deal. Go check out Black Box Cages. All their links and info is in the description. Go get yourself a new cage. Go get yourself a cage accessory. Go get a cage. Damn it. Just do it. Do it. You need a cage. Unless you have a spider, then you just need a deli cup. So
Not all of them. I mean, it may be
That's fair.
delicate to raise them, but once you get to a decent size, you can make an enclosure look nice.
that's fair. That's fair. For sure. So just go over there. Buy something.
I will say, trips to the Container Store for tarantula enclosures, it used to get very dangerous for me because I would be like, I just need to get a billion freaking containers.
You just start looking at any container in the house. I could put a spider in that thing.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Sheesh. Oh man.
So, Tom, do you ever like, I don't know if you go hiking a whole lot, but I find that like when I'm out herping, I coincidentally find lots of spiders while I'm out.
Yeah, of course, man. I'm always in the summer, always going out looking for things. There's not a whole lot of great deal of things to find here on Long Island, but you find them, you know.
You're in New York.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you.
That's what makes them hardcore in New York.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
I think it's just funny because like I've gone on herping trips with people who are just strictly into reptiles and they're not like crazy about arachnids or it just doesn't register to them. They think they're cool, but they just don't look. And so like Jeremy, when we went down to South Carolina and did that Herp Society trip, there were these giant orb weavers like everywhere. Like, oh my god, they're freaking everywhere. This is
literally
so cool.
everywhere.
Right.
It was funny because the first time we did that trip, you weren't there.
Yeah.
And there were probably more that time than when you were there. And I literally just remember like every time I walked into one of those freaking webs, like man, Rob would be enjoying himself right now.
I don't walk into the webs if I can avoid it.
Right.
You couldn't avoid it. That was the
True.
worst part. You couldn't avoid it.
True. And then you guys didn't find anything that first trip, right?
No, we
so
did not.
All you found were spiders.
Yes, exactly. Which is why
like
we
trip.
were very upset that you weren't there, Rob. Because we were all like, man, we got pretty skunked. And I'm like, man, if Rob was here, he'd be so happy. His positive energy would have infected us all, and we would have been happy with this trip.
You could have learned something about some spiders. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Instead, we're still pulling webs off of our faces.
Well, that's the thing. When we went there, we didn't just see the orb weavers. There was like gastrocantha, like the spiny orb weavers.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of those. We saw
So cool.
Microthena, the arrow-shaped orb weavers. Arrow-shaped. I don't know. They're just called Microthenas. I don't even know if they call them orb weavers or whatever.
Yeah, it's a type of orb weaver.
Yeah, and then lots of wolf spiders, Dolomedes, the like fishing spiders. Oh, you know what I saw that was actually kind of cool on Instagram a couple weeks ago? I saw somebody who made a Dolomedes enclosure. So they made a fishing spider enclosure. That was, I am confusing my life right now. That was not on Instagram. That was actually at the North Carolina Zoo. They have a setup that's got a fishing spider in it and like a big, he's got a little water area, like a big water area, like, and then he's got a big log and some area for him to climb in the back. I was like,
That's
this
cool.
is just freaking really cool.
Yeah, I've seen people do some creative stuff with those, setting them up with little water features and stuff and fish, and they're cool. They'll just sit right on the surface of the water waiting for a fish to come by.
Uh-huh. It's so interesting to see natural habits like that. I haven't seen anyone keeping those the bell diving spiders. Have you seen those in the hobby?
No, we were supposed to get those like a year ago, and it kind of fell through. So we're working on it, man. If we can get them, we'll get them. But those are really cool.
Yeah.
Right.
So for if you're listening and you're a reptile person, you don't know what we're talking about. There's this type of spider that has these specific kind of hairs, so that it lives around water, and when it dies below the surface, the hairs create a air pocket around the abdomen, which is where the tarantula breathes from, and it can dive down, and it creates like a little bell underwater of oxygen, so it can just hunt underwater, which is like, what the fuck?
It just
so
lives
crazy.
under the water. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Spider.
it's crazy. Just you don't
see,
see that. It does not happen. It's just
I
that.
think I found it. Let's see.
There's some really cool videos of them swimming in the water and stuff.
Yeah. There's the pictures are cool, but they don't do it justice, because literally they swim underwater. Unlike I know the people who are listening to this who are afraid of spiders are thinking that is their worst nightmare.
The worst thing ever. Yeah.
They're like, that's the one place I don't have to worry about
safe.
spiders.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say the fishing spiders, the Dolomites species, those things are bold, man. I can't tell you how many people I've seen that like take a video of one and they're like, I'm gonna put my hand next to it to show how big it is, and it like hops on their hand.
Yeah, they're quick too.
They're so fast.
Pass. Pass. Absolute pass. Oh,
I don't know, man. They're cool. I just give them their space, you know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I'll give them, dude. I'll give them more space than you. Guaranteed. Oh man, no, that's awesome. Though I want to just hit this super chat. Jay Hill is in the building.
Thank you, sir.
Love the podcast. Appreciate having diverse subjects on here. I don't keep any spiders or tarantulas other than the wild caught native jumping spiders, but love learning about them. Heck yeah, man. Thank you for hanging. You were one of the first people in the chat, so thank you for being here, man. Definitely appreciate the support.
Yeah. So what is the next step for hardcore arachnids? What's the next thing that you're got your eye on?
Well, the live animals are always going to be there, but now there's going to be T-shirts and stuff on there, cool stuff like that. And
heck yeah,
I'm working on that stuff now, so it's all a learning experience because I'm doing it all myself, and I knew nothing about building a website. 2 months ago, I had no idea about any of this stuff, so it's coming together though. So
doing shirts, you got stickers too, right?
Yeah, stickers. I'm going to expand into all kinds of weird stuff like that.
Dude, hell yeah.
People
T-shirts.
are happy about shirts.
This one glows in the dark. Check this out.
What?
Oh, that's cool.
Light?
That's awesome.
That was the big gimmick a few months ago. I was selling these things.
So when I went to Arizona, man, it had to have been like 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm going to Arizona. I gotta see some scorpions. So one of my friends got me a black light, and I went out every freaking night with that black light and just walked around these like rock outcroppings, like looking for scorpions, and I did not find a single scorpion.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's crazy because I was like, I'm gonna be. I mean, I was in northern Arizona, so it was like closer to like Utah line,
right.
But still, when I think Arizona, I'm like, there's gonna be scorpions everywhere.
Yeah.
The one scorpion I found a Hedurus, so like an Arizona giant yellow hairy scorpion or whatever. But I found it in the middle of the day. I like flipped it underneath a rock, and it was like, I'll murder you.
That's funny. It's funny you say that. I went to Costa Rica some years back, and the same thing. I had a black light. I was black lighting every night, and I found one scorpion in Costa Rica. Like, same thing. You'd think they'd be everywhere, and you're cheating with the light. They glow from 10 feet away.
Yeah,
exactly. You think they'd easy to spot, but not easy to find.
If people haven't tried that before, scorpions have these like certain things in their exoskeleton that cause them to glow like neon green under a black light, and you don't have to be close. It's not like you have to have the flashlight right on top of them. If they're across the room and you point a flashlight anywhere over there, they glow. So like walking around, you're like, I'll hit one eventually, and it's just like I walked around every night for like a week solid, and I did not see any.
Yeah. Depends on where you are too. Because I've been in areas in Arizona where like you almost can't step on them accidentally because they're everywhere. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then
it just
all the people are like, "Oh, they were in my house. They were in my sheets. They're in my shoes."
Right,
and I'm like,
right.
"Oh, okay. So they're inside, not outside. I got it. Okay."
Yeah, right. Amy says there are definitely patches where they're more common. Some neighborhoods are completely overrun.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that.
I want to see it. I want to go there. And then like, I really want to make a pilgrimage to one of the spots where like the Texas tans, all the males make their migration. So you can go out and there's just hundreds of tarantulas walking across the road.
Oh man.
I want to see that at least once in my life. That would just be so cool.
You want to see them in the wild though. You don't want to see them in someone's bathtub or like in their house.
Yeah, true. I just think it would be really awesome to see because I don't think I saw any tarantulas while I was in Arizona. I looked and I told the kids who worked at the hotel, I was like, I will give you $20. I don't care if it's like one of your friends. If they see one in their yard, like let me know. I saw
man.
Oh my god, what the hell is it called? Clucunia or something? The house.
Yeah,
like
Cucuclania.
Those ones.
Yeah.
I found a couple of those,
yeah,
but not any tarantulas.
Yeah. Well, they're out there, but certain times of years they're plugged up with their egg sacs too, and they're just not out.
Yeah, I went in May.
Yeah, well,
was when I was down there. So
yeah, I used to go in August a lot, and they would have open burrows with babies coming out. So in May they're probably bunkered down.
Yeah, yeah. And then when I went to Utah a couple of years, was that 2 years ago? We saw a phonopelma everywhere. There was a bunch of them, and like not big one, not even just big ones. We saw a couple big ones, but lots of like inch and a half ones, inch long ones. It was so cool because we're like flashlighting at night looking for rattlesnakes, and then all of a sudden I see like a little across the ground, and I'm like, oh, tarantula! I gotta check it out. It was just awesome. And then what else? We saw sulfuge, the
camel spiders.
Yeah, camel spiders.
Right.
There was a couple of those.
Yeah.
One of those little it bit me. Like
they bite hard, man. People are always like, oh, they don't have venom. What's the big deal? Well, they bite hard, man.
They pinch, man. For real. I was like, I've never seen one like actually go after and like bite somebody. So I was like, I bet you I could like corral this and like pick it up. And I like put my hand in front of it. It went right up and was like, oh, I got you. And it wasn't a big one. It was like,
they like to bite too, man.
Oh yeah, it got me. And I was like, okay, not picking those up, I guess.
Damn.
They are cool though.
They are really cool. And then like down here, the thing is like a lot of people I talk to, they're like, oh, I saw a brown recluse. And I'm like, you didn't see a brown recluse.
Yeah, I hear that. I get that all the time. Yeah.
Of course.
You didn't. And they're like, well, my friend got bit by a spider. And I'm like, did it have 2 puncture wounds? Or did they get a staph infection from a small cut they had? Like, come on.
It happens all the time. That's just never going to go away. There's always going to be, my doctor said it was a spider bite or whatever. And...
Your doctor's an idiot.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Your doctor doesn't know anything about spiders, but I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a story around here of a giant spider they found in their backyard that was this big, and it just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. Yeah. I'd be seeing some big spiders, but that's because I'm looking for big spiders.
Right.
Oh man. Well, I mean, that's the elusive 10-foot ball python that nobody's ever seen, but everybody hears about. The
3-foot bearded dragons.
Oh god.
Can't tell you how many people would try.
Really?
To hit me
Is
with
that a thing?
Stuff. No, it's not a thing. But
no, I mean people say
it's a thing. It's a thing people say for sure.
Yes,
yeah,
it is a thing
funny.
people say. Yeah.
Oh god.
I'm not in any of the reptile groups, so I don't hear the crazy myths and stuff.
No, you're dude.
I can't imagine.
You're better off without it. So.
I got enough drama with the spider groups.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like online groups have drained me completely of my interest to be in online groups.
Yeah.
I'm so over it because like you can post this thing that you've been raising and this thing is like, unique and rare, and people will be like, you're keeping that wrong. And I'm like, I've had it for 5 years. What are you talking about? I'm keeping it wrong. What the fuck? Like I've been keeping tarantulas my entire life. My mom had tarantulas before I was born. So when I was a child, I had tarantulas, and like it's crazy because like back then the only thing, I mean, not the only things, but most of the things that people had was like Avix and Brachypelma, like Smith eye, and maybe rose hairs.
Yeah.
But like my mom's like, yeah, so like when you were like 2 and 3 years old, you know, when I had to clean the tarantula enclosure, I would just like put them on you and it would like crawl all over you and you knew not to grab it or anything.
Right.
So you just hung out with them. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. Nowadays that probably would not fly. People would freak out, lose their minds.
Oh yeah, you'd hear about that for sure. Yeah. Endangering the life of a child and a spider, I guess. Like,
and an Avic, it's just like, you know, not even a Metallica, just like a. Also, what the hell is up with the goddamn Avic renames? What is up with that?
I'm not a big fan of it. I don't keep a lot of avicularia to begin with, but I think this M6 and M2 and all that has just confused everybody.
Yep.
I really think just calling them, if you want to call them avicularia, that's great. But then put Metallica in quotes next to it, or put like, it's making things even messier. And I don't know. The hobby should have just left the names, I think, the way they were. But
yeah, for real.
So I'm super out of the loop on that. So I'm familiar with Avic and like P Metallica and so, like kind of know what those terms are, but like
not even P Metallica, A Metallica.
A Metallica. Okay. Yeah. So right. So what's happening with that divergent section of names?
A few years back, avicularias are the pink toe tarantulas. There was a revision that kind of lumped all of these ones together to the same species, avicularia. And they consider them morphotypes now, which is just like almost like a locality differences, but they're calling them the same species. So now you have people in the hobby calling them all avicularia, and then you have people calling them like these morphotypes. They numbered them like M6 and stuff like and M1. And,
okay.
And it's very confusing because now you have people arguing over is it M1 or M6 or Metallica or Brunschozeni or like,
gosh. Okay, I gotcha.
It's made a confusing group of spiders even more confusing. And
perfect. Perfect.
It's
Taxonomy, ain't it great?
Yeah.
It's just so weird because like a lot of them look very different. Like if you see an adult Avicularia Metallica and then put it next to an Avic, they are so different. They're very, very different. Like
they should definitely be kept separate. Yeah.
They should, because like for the people who are listening who don't know what I'm talking about, an avicularia is those black tarantulas that have like the little pink toes. They're called pink toe tarantulas for the common name. And they're like, have been kept in the hobby for over 30 years now, probably close to 40 years. Yeah. And they're very common, but there's also different species in that genus, like the Avicularia Metallica, which like an Avicularia gets like what, maybe 4.5 inches or so. Yeah. And I've seen Avicularia Metallica that are pushing like 8-9 inches. They're huge. They're massive. And then they've got these like wispy, curly, like silver hairs all over them.
Like the white tipped hairs.
Exactly.
That's
so they
the
look
came from.
super different than the Avics, and they're like, oh no, it's just a morpho, it's just a locality, and it's like, come on, guys. One of my biggest gripes with the tarantula thing is that new papers come out constantly where they're regrouping and renaming and blah blah blah, and I can't keep up with all of it. It's like I try, I really do, but man, they change it so much.
It's constantly changing, and that's what people are saying. Well, all these avicularies are the same species now; they can be mixed. And I'm like, well, that's until the next paper comes out and separates them again. And
exactly
right.
So.
Right. Whoever writes that, if they're a clumper or actually
splitter,
right. Yeah.
I just don't understand how they can look so different, and people are like, oh, this is clearly the same species. It's like people looking at like a chimpanzee and a bonobo and being like, that's the same exact thing. A chimpanzee and a gorilla are the same thing. Come on.
The problem is when they're younger, they kind of look alike, and they're harder to tell apart when they're younger.
Like, I don't care. Like think about all the brown tarantulas. They all look the same, but come on, like they're all different species. Or like the Xenethus species. All those things when they're little look the same. I don't know. That's it. Just
disgruntled Rob is fun. Rob
it rustles my jimmies is what it does. It just like gets me all upset.
The spider taxonomy, it's a moving target. Spider taxonomy.
Which is crazy because, like, if a new paper comes out and changes some snake shit, it changes everything, and that's it. Like, when they came out and said that bloods and short tails are different species, which they should have been different species from the beginning, but when it came out, that is it. There's no going back after that. And then, like, the Lampropelma, Ceropagopus, blah blah blah, breaking up Caribena, and like all this different stuff. I'm like, man, these people are.
I have spiders that are labeled down here with a name that was 3 names ago. Like I stopped changing the labels.
Yeah. You can go back in the history and know what it is.
I know what they are. So
exactly.
But, on my Flickr account, I have my big photo album on my Flickr account, and I try to keep the taxonomy straight there. And it's a pain in the ass when I got to change the names constantly.
No. Oh, I can only imagine. Sheesh.
That's rough.
Oh man, I just want to hit this super chat. Sam about 420 came back and said, "I think you guys converted me into wanting to own some bugs in the future." Beers on me.
Hell yeah! Look, all I'm saying is that you need to just find one that you're like, okay, that one isn't horrendous. For a lot of people, it's P Metallica. They look like at a Goody Sapphire. They're bright blue and yellow. Don't get that. Don't get one of those. But look at pictures of them. Because they're really gorgeous, and they are one of those spiders that just gets people over their fear, or jumping spiders. And then once you do that, like once the floodgates open a little bit and you really see how many cool species of tarantulas and spiders there are out there,
you'll be back for more.
You'll be back for more. And it's so much more affordable than snakes and a lot of lizards and things. Because
there's no heat lights, there's no UV lights or anything like that. They're in plastic containers stacked on top of each other.
Yep.
Right.
And if you want to make like a more elaborate enclosure, you can always do that for them too. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some nicer enclosures around the corner there with plants and stuff.
Yeah.
So something pretty to look at. You can never see the spider because they're hiding, but I think it's pretty though.
At least the enclosure's nice. Yeah. PCF Funny Royals dropped a comment and said, "My daughter wants a tarantula. Which type would you guys recommend for a starter?"
I usually tell people something from the Brachypelma, Grammostola, or Toledo cattle genus, which is like red rump tarantulas, the red knee tarantulas, or Grammostolas, rose hairs, and Choco Goldenese, things like that. Those are usually the best starter ones. If it's your first one, try to get one that's well started.
Yeah, don't get a little itty bitty. Get some, especially because a lot of those genuses take forever to grow. So get something that's, it might be a little bit more expensive, but get something that's a little bit bigger. I think that one of the ones that I've seen in the last couple of years, it's become more accessible than like the rose hairs is the Aphonopelma chalcodes.
Yeah.
And most of the ones that I've come in contact with have been pretty chill and not evil. So that's one that I also recommend. They're from the southeast or southwestern United States, Aphonopelma chalcodes, or I guess most of the Aphonopelma species. But they're a drier tarantula, so you don't have to worry about humidity too much. Super easy to take care of, not really prone to bite. They don't really have the crazy urticating hairs. So those are one that I also recommend to people outside of the ones that Tom said. Yeah,
they're good too, because like you said, they dry, so you don't have to worry about they're not very
moist down or water dish. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then when they molt, you don't have to worry about humidity levels and all that extra stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Bam.
So that's usually what I would recommend. I mean, Avix used to be one that I would recommend to people, but I think that for a lot, especially if you're afraid of spiders, don't get Avix because they will jump and they're kind of quick when they want to be, and a lot of those other terrestrial species are a little bit more slow and deliberate with how they move.
Yeah, baby Avix can be kind of touchy too. Like that's why I don't deal much with them, because when you have 1,000 spiders to take care of, I can't be there babysitting these little avicularia slings that need constant care. So
the sudden avic death syndrome where you're trying to do everything right and then it just dies. You're like, what? No.
The SADS. That's so great.
It's not great. It's very sad.
No, it's not. It's not great,
acronym,
but it's a good acronym.
It's a very accurate acronym.
The SADS.
Yeah, I don't know who made that one up, but that's a term that they've been using for years.
Yeah,
that's great. It's not great, but it's a great acronym. Sheesh. Oh man.
Well, Tom, we're winding down our hour here, but we do have one question that we ask all the guests that we have on our show to wrap things up.
Okay.
And I'm going to modify it a little bit because you keep arachnids and not so much on the reptile side of things. But what in the realm of arachnids, be it something that you're working with personally, something that you got planned for the future, or something that you've seen online, something that somebody else is doing, what got you excited about arachnids right now?
Always like the hobby's growing and more people are starting to accept them and find the beauty in them and, just appreciate them. It's just it's a growing hobby. I went from the reptile shows back when I was younger, 1 or 2 people would be selling spiders, and there was all kinds of people there these tables are mobbed. People are interested in them. That's pretty much basically it.
Hell yeah. I remember going to the White Plains show and trying to get to your table and just there being a row of people. And I was like, well, I guess I'll come back in a little bit.
Heck yeah.
So if people want to find out more about the things that you're doing, where should they look you up online?
They can find me on Facebook. I just made a new page for my business. It's a Hardcore Arachnids Facebook business page. Definitely check out my website, hardcorearachnids.com. My personal page, Tom Patterson. You'll find all years of pictures and stuff that I've been posting there too. So
he's like, look me up on arachno boards,
Right.
and one more thing that we didn't talk about, but I wanted to bring up was your watermarks. I love your watermarks on your photos, and I wish. What is the story behind that? Because I need to know.
Well, the one that you had posted today with the name scribbled across it.
Yeah,
I forgot what the story was behind that. It was so long ago, but someone stole my photo. My photos are all over the internet, so someone stole my photo for something. So I think I posted a picture of a Poecilotheria Miranda or something, and I just scribbled Tom in giant red letters over it. And I was like, steal this one for your websites or whatever.
I just love it because I remember seeing that for a while. Was just like I'd see pictures from you, and it just says Tom over the top of it. I was like, yes.
Well, people start running with it. Like half the shit I post on Facebook, it just turns into a circus,
I love it, man.
Right. That's awesome.
Well, Tom, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah,
I
thanks for having me.
man.
Thank you.
It was
I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hopefully, I can catch up with you soon, man.
Cool. All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Take care.
See ya.